Hare Krishna. Om Agyantamandasya Gyananjalashalakaya Chakshunmilitam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Marupistam Savanam Yanavuttane Swayam Rupakaramayam Dalati Swavadantikam Namam Vishnupadaya Kushavasa Vuttane Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayane Nivishesha Shunyavari Pasata Deshatari Vanshakapa Duvasa Kripa Sanvevata Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everybody to our session number 2 on the topic of false ego. I think we have some people who were not here yesterday. You were not here, you were not here, you were not here. Okay, good, welcome. Better late than never. Yeah, yesterday we had the first session on this topic of false ego. And we were basically introducing what is the false ego. It's the most subtle element of the subtle material body. And it's so subtle that we often completely miss it. And we can nicely feed and boost the false ego all in the name of devotional life instead of subduing and dissolving it. And basically, false ego makes us think to be something which we are not. Man, woman, Finnish, Indian, Russian, whatever. So many things. And yeah, we were talking about all different details. I won't be able to repeat it all. But also we were discussing 1858 in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna gives us 2 options of acting, either serving in conscious or acting in consciousness of him, meaning being servant, and that offers the solution to all problems, or acting through false ego, and then we will be lost, Krishna said. So we were discussing that in quite a bit of detail. And we were also saying that there is 2 motivating forces, the ambitious false ego motivating force, that's the path to success in material life, and all I want to do is serve, motivating force, that's the path of success in devotional life. Then Krishna, from within the heart, he sees that we have a genuine and selfless mood of service, and then all the right doors open at the right time. It's quite magic, actually. I experienced that in my own life. And actually, in this regard, let me add a few things before we go to our today's topic. Sometimes we may find ourselves in a situation where we feel, actually, I could do so much more, but somehow it's not happening. The opportunities are not coming or whatever. And sometimes we may even think, oh, the leaders, the managers, they don't let me do things. Or maybe because I'm in a woman's body, I'm not getting the chance, and all these things. But no, there's some other reason there. It's actually Krishna. When Krishna sees that we are not able to handle the successes, meaning that we would get too puffed up and carried away if we were allowed to do it, and we would be successful. So therefore, when Krishna sees there, then he puts like the handbrakes on, and he doesn't give the opportunities. Any of you have been in that situation where you feel you could actually do so much more, but somehow it's not happening? Yes. Yeah, I mean, I remember looking back, some 25 years ago, I also had that feeling. And now looking back, of course, I can understand why Krishna put the handbrakes on, because I needed a bit more purification, and I still do. So yeah, good to understand. Let us understand Krishna is the supreme controller, and not the managers and leaders and this and that. So usually, when we find ourselves in the situation, then best to just realize, okay, yeah, Krishna doesn't allow me to do it yet because I'm not purified enough at heart. I'm not mature enough. I would get too puffed up and carried away. So let me just wait and continue seriously serving, and surely the time will come when Krishna gives the opportunity, when Krishna thinks it's the right moment. Yeah. Also, another little thing we can add, which we did mention yesterday, that actually the false ego, of course, the false ego has so many effects, but there is two main ones. So one is that we are overconfident and think ourselves to be the center of attention, and we can do it all, and look at me, and we want to show off and all that. So that's probably the more common one. But then there is also another effect when we feel all insecure and mental and full of complexes. This is also the false ego's effect, interestingly. And that comes because the false ego wants us to look really cool and great. So, but then we may just not have the abilities or the karma to look cool and great. So, and then we cannot live up to the false ego's demands and expectations. And that's when we get all insecure and mental, and all the others are so much better and I can't do it. And so it also comes from the false ego. But if we just accept the mood of servant, saying to ourselves, okay, I will simply try my best, and sorry, whatever I can offer, that's it. Kindly accept whatever little I can offer, then there will be no insecurities and mentalness, And also, especially if we remember that Krishna actually looks at the service attitude. He is not so impressed with a mere offering, but the mood, the love and devotion with which we do things. So let us take an example. Let us imagine we would love to be also a good singer, but somehow we don't have the makes to it. We don't have a good voice, or we sing off tune or whatever it may be. So then if we are on the false ego platform, we get all mental and insecure, and we think, oh, everybody else is such good singers and I'm not, and this and that. But if we are not on the false ego platform, then we will simply understand that Krishna actually accepts the love and devotion with which we sing. And yeah, I have observed this, that sometimes when people are very good musicians, then very easily some little pride sneaks in. Oh, look at me, listen to my voice and my mridanga playing and so on. And that actually contaminates the kirtan. Whereas when a devotee is not so expert in musical instruments and singing, and nevertheless they try their best to sing and connect with Krishna, call out. Then these kirtans actually have more spiritual power. Yes. And Krishna may be more pleased about that rather than the externally, fantastic kirtan and voice and musical instrument playing. But with pride instead of with humility and devotion. So Krishna is not interested in the external offering so much, but he is more interested in the love and devotion and the purity of heart. That's what attracts him, right? But the externals are always pleasing to the false ego, whereas the internals, are not so pleasing to the false ego, but they are pleasing to Krishna. Yeah, so good to understand. Yeah, so interesting to note that these insecurities and mentalness, it's also an effect of the false ego. Okay, so today I would like to move on and discuss one of the very important rules of Vaishnava etiquette, which help us to dissolve the false ego. Because basically, the false ego, we subdue and dissolve by mainly two things. One thing is the chanting of the holy name. We will have a session on Monday on that. That will be the last program we will have. And then I'm flying on to Croatia, back down south. Yeah, so Monday we will have the last session on chanting. So because the chanting is a whole deep secret and science. And I have this conviction also that we have to make more efforts to get on deeper levels of chanting. Very often, I've said this before, is our devotional life very external, almost a little mechanical, but that is not nourishing the bhakti ladder. And then often bhakti ladder gets dried up and we fade away, we don't feel inspired anymore. And so the chanting is a whole deep science and secret. It's not just a matter of getting these rounds done out of the way. Often we chant with that mood, and then our joy comes from, thank God I finished, rather than chanting the holy name. Very common thing. Yeah, so in any case, the chanting dissolves the false ego. And of course, this is a big topic, but I just give you the conclusion now. When we chant the holy name, longing to serve, that establishes us in dasya. Yeah, that scrubs the heart from all these other designations of being the enjoyer and controller. And it's actually very logical. You imagine, we try every day for 2 or 2.5 hours, whatever it takes to chant our rounds. And we really call out to Krishna, longing to serve, begging him, please, Krishna, let me serve. All I want to do is serve, serve, serve. I haven't even started yet. I'm just playing around here, but all I want to do is serve you and your devotees. So if we chant the holy name with that quality of feeling, then surely the day will come when we get the point. I'm a servant, right? Pretty logical, actually. Yeah. So chanting, longing to serve, that's one key. But are we chanting, longing to serve? Are we? no yes, no, no. It means no. Yeah, well, usually we don't actually. We just blabber something down and walk around and do other things while we're chanting. And we will discover this on Monday. Please come back on Monday if you want to get some little glimpses into the whole chanting talk. And I mean, I can take one more time the opportunity to invite you all to come to Ego Chakra Dham over Christmas. Ego Chakra Dham. Who's been to Ego Chakra Dham? 2 people. That's Nityananda's birthplace, about 3.5 hours away from Mayapur. So I conduct every year over Christmas a holy name retreat in Ego Chakra. And this is an amazing experience. Just being for 4 nights, we stay there, 4 nights at Ego Chakra. Wow, you enter a different reality, especially if you switch off your phone for 4 days. See, I live without a phone, believe it or not. No, I don't want to have a phone in my life. I travel the whole world without a phone. Yeah, possible. Prabhupada did it too. Of course, I have a laptop. I have to communicate and tell people when I'm coming and all that. But no, I don't want to invite this phone in my life. It's such a distraction. Oh my God, I see it all the time. Yeah, so if you want to really get an amazing experience, then please come to Mayapur. The retreat is 24th to 28th of December. Many companies close over Christmas, between Christmas and New Year. And Pervochik Buddhat, I even have Russian translation there for those who need. There's always a whole group of Russian-speaking devotees coming from Mayapur. Yes, and this year even Chandramouli Swami wrote me that he wants to come. So it sounds like it's going to be fun. He was once before there, yes. Yes, so all you have to do is register on my website, be 1 or 2 days before in Mayapur. I arrange everything. I get a bus. I book the whole accommodation, nice prasadam, no chili, salad, chapatis, all very nice, yes. I've done it for 15 years, so meanwhile they know how I like to have it. Yeah, so it's really a very nice experience, and it's a good opportunity to escape the whole Christmas madness here in the Western world and to escape the dark, cold season here in Helsinki. You're doing it every year coming to Mayapur. Yes, and you don't have to go for so many months like he goes, but just 2 weeks, and you will be recharged, coming back and getting some new tools and insights how to chant. Yes. And I offer even the whole thing on donation basis. I never charge fixed fees for anything. But the actual expense comes to about 3,500 rupees, which is peanuts. It's not even 50 euros. For the last 4 nights accommodation, nice accommodation with attached bathroom, hot water, everything, good prasadam. I mean, that's really peanuts. So please make a note of this. Yeah, so chanting is one tool to dissolve the false ego. And the second tool is Vaishnava etiquette and culture. Yeah. That's why we have Vaishnava etiquette. So important. Actually, Vaishnava etiquette is designed to bring us to the point of Trinada Pisunichena, to be more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. And we can only cultivate those qualities if our false ego is subdued. So if we were there already spontaneously, then no need for Vaishnava etiquette and culture. But because we are not there, that's why we have to accept this Vaishnava etiquette. It's like the crutches which Krishna gives us to learn how to move forward. Yes. We're a bit in a handicapped position. We need the crutches, yes, of Vaishnava etiquette and culture. That's why Vaishnava etiquette and culture is so important. It doesn't matter where we live in this world, we have to imbibe it and practice it and internalize it and so on, because then we can transform. So today I would like to look at one of the main and foremost rules of Vaishnava etiquette, which helps us to dissolve our false ego. Oops. And we have mentioned this already a little bit in connection with envy, the topic of envy. But I didn't give it so much attention because I knew we would get back to this today. So the Vaishnava etiquette is that a devotee should never defend himself or herself. Yeah, we should not defend. We know eating, sleeping, mating, defending, right? The 4 animal propensities, we've all heard about that. So we quite often hear about eating, sleeping, mating, that we should keep them to a bare minimum. But we don't talk so much about defending, right? No, we don't. Not at all. And here, of course, we mean the verbal defense. Yes, the verbal defense. Yeah, so because when we defend, what do we defend? False ego, yes, of course. Yes, nothing else. And the Vaishnava etiquette says we should not defend ourselves, but if we see other devotees very badly treated, then we should step in and we should defend without false ego. Even defending others we can also do with false ego, but yeah, oh, how can you do it? You can do that too. But even more so when we defend ourselves, then we really defend the false ego. There is a nice quote in a purport to 1:1848, where Prabhupada says, as such, the devotees are never inclined to counteract personal defamation, curses, negligence, etc. As far as such things are concerned in personal affairs, the devotees do not care for them. In other words, even if we are attacked and cursed and defamed and so on, we don't care for ourselves. But in the case of their being performed against the Lord and his devotees, then the devotees take very strong action. So here we have it, the Vaishnava etiquette. We should not defend ourselves, but we should defend others. Yeah. And of course, if everybody would follow that Vaishnava etiquette rule, then no need to defend ourselves, because surely somebody will step in and defend us, right? But the problem is we all do the opposite of what we should be doing. We defend ourselves every day almost, very commonly. But when we see others badly treated, we look away. We don't want to get involved. We are worried, oh, this may damage my relationships. After all, my friend is involved in this there. Oh, I'm not going to say anything. None of my business. You know? Yes. But that exactly we should not do. We do the opposite of what we should be doing. That's the problem, really. So, and this defending propensity is so strong. The false ego pushes the tongue to say, it bursts out. So strong. The most common defense mechanism is what? Let me ask you, how do we defend? What are the defense mechanisms we use? Attacking. Yes. Yeah, that's also there. Yeah. Yes, attacking. What else? Denial. Yeah.
Many explanations.
Finding excuses. Oh, yeah, it happened because of this and that and the other thing and blah, 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 blah. But actually, what do? We're just defending our false ego, and we don't even realize. But there's one really common one within relationships, especially married life or partnership. What do?
We become others.
Huh?
We blame others.
Yes, we blame others. Exactly. Oh, it is him, it is her, it's not me. Oh, it's my husband. Oh, it's my wife. Yeah, we blame others. That's the classic defense mechanism. I'm okay, it's all the other people. Yes, nothing wrong with me. Yes. But these false ego patterns of behaviors, we cannot actually make advancement. And often we are so trapped in them and we don't even notice. It just bursts out of our mouth. Actually, once I gave the whole seminar about the false ego, I mentioned this yesterday, is actually 10 hours. That's how I give it in Mayapur, over 4 sessions. And I remember once in Mayapur, we were talking about this for quite a while, not to defend. And then after the seminar, I spoke to a young devotee in Baghdad. I can't even remember what the topic was, but he immediately started defending. And I said to him, Prabhu, I tried to make it sweet and jokingly, Prabhu, remember, we just talked about it. Don't defend. He couldn't even hear me. It was shooting out of his mouth and going on and on and on. We had just talked about it for 1.5 hours. This is how the false ego pushes the tongue, and we can't even control the tongue, and we have to say it, and it comes out. That's how it goes, very strong urge to defend. And I mean, sometimes, as I mentioned yesterday, the false ego uses the mind and intelligence as tools to get the gratification it wants to enjoy. So especially the intelligence, let's say there is a conflict and we are the third person, the mediator, and we hear both sides. And sometimes people tell a completely different story, but they all talk about the same incidents. And you're wondering, are they really talking about the same incidents? Because that's what the contaminated intelligence does. It twists things around to such extent that we are right and everybody else is wrong. And the person is convinced this is how it was. Because we may think, or maybe one of the two is lying or something, but no, they're not lying. It's just the contaminated intelligence twists things completely around just to give us that gratification, or the false ego's gratification, that yes, I'm right, I'm okay, it's all the others. And like that, we are just so trapped, we actually can't move forward. Yes. So that's why Krishna gives us this Vaishnava etiquette rule, not to defend. Just to let go of this mood of defending all the time. And I mean, now after hearing this, please be a little introspective in the future. You may realize that every day Krishna puts some situation in front of our nose just to help us let go of the false ego. But usually we do the opposite. We defend, we blame, and that happens almost every day. Especially when we live in the association of devotees or in family life, then it comes out more. If we live all alone in our flat or little cottage there in the forest, we can imagine how advanced I am, and peacefully chanting and reading and all that, But now it all comes out when we serve in the association of devotees. That's why the service in the association of devotees is such a crucial element of the whole purifying process. Because also, I mean, our process is to serve the devotees. So how can we serve the devotees there in our cottage in the forest? All right, maybe something on the internet or something, but no, we are meant to be personal with each other and serve each other and assist each other in our services and so on. So for that, we have to be in association of devotees. And then, the false ego gets triggered every day. That's why sometimes people say, I don't like to go so much to the temple. There's always so much tension there and so many annoying things. And I better stay at home and I just come sometimes. Well, then we are missing out on the purification. Then the flame of purification is switched on very, very low. Like the gas burner there, tiny little flame. But if we put ourselves in the fire of service, then the flame is switched on high. And we may also have that experience when there is an intense service situation. You just had, not Rath Yatra, Janmashtami, or when there's Prabhupada's book marathon, when the service mood is a little more intense, then often the egos are clashing more, isn't it? You notice that as a manager. Then it's more arguments and people come and with all kinds of dissatisfactions and so on, because the service mood is switched on high, and then the ego rebels more. So more purification taking place. Yes. So now, especially when we defend towards a superior, a senior, this is especially bad and inappropriate. But even towards equals and even towards juniors, we should not defend, actually. Yeah. Let's say a junior person is behaving inappropriately towards us as a senior. Better we tell that another senior and ask him to instruct the person, rather than saying ourselves, actually you shouldn't talk like that to me or whatever. So then there's always a pinch of defense there. And also that devotee may think, he's just defending himself or something. So better to ask somebody else to give that instruction rather than us giving it and maybe defending after all. Yeah, but especially inappropriate, this defending is towards a senior. So let us imagine our Guru Maharaj chastises us for something which we didn't even do. That would be a bit of a challenge for the false ego, wouldn't it? Just imagine, we didn't even do it, and he's chastising us. So, what's the way to respond? What's the way to respond? What? Yeah, tolerate. Say to ourselves, I've been such a rascal, I should have been chastised so many times, but I didn't get the chastisement. So now let me accept this opportunity to get what I deserve. And I actually deserve so much worse, but I'm only getting a little drop of what I really deserve. We talked about it in forgiveness. Yeah. And we should consciously accept it as an opportunity to let go of the false ego. Yes. Yeah, not easy. Let's just imagine Guru chastises us for something which we didn't do. The false ego will whisper into our ear, what is he going to think now? This is unfair. I didn't even do it. Now he thinks I'm such a bad disciple and blah, Yes. But again, if everybody follows the etiquette, then surely somebody else would step in and say, oh, actually, Marge, it wasn't quite like that. And actually, the person who did it was somebody else, Yeah. They should defend us, if it is something major. Yeah, so that would be the proper way to act, just to tolerate it. Actually, also, let me mention this too, that our parents are always considered to be our seniors, even if they're not devotees, even if they're eating meat and smoking and drinking. But they're still our superiors. Yeah. And we are actually not meant to defend ourselves towards them, answering back, wanting to have the last word, all these things are also the defense thing, not being able to just be quiet and let it be as it is. No, I have to tell that actually I know better and answering back, yeah. So we are not meant to do these things towards our parents. Yes. Even instructing a person who is superior to us, we shouldn't instruct them, we shouldn't correct them, we shouldn't, we'll definitely not chastise them or something, get on their case. All these things are completely against Vaishnava etiquette. But here in the Western world, we don't learn these things anymore, right? 100 years ago, it was also like that, yes. Actually, my mother told me, she left her body a couple of years ago, she was 92, so almost 100. She said to me, in her childhood, the more aristocratic families, the children would address the parents with a, do you have in Finnish language the two ways, the respectful and formal and the,
Yes.
yeah. So the children would address the parents with a formal and respectful you. Would be pretty unheard of today, wouldn't it? Yeah, and they were even saying, Your Grace. like we also say, His grace, her grace, your divine grace. So 100 years ago, the kids were saying that to their parents. Your grace. Interesting, huh? Yeah, that's only 100 years ago. So in these 100 years, things have really changed. And what people think to be progress, that we all cool and easygoing and all that. But no, it's actually degradation. It invites disrespect over familiarity. Yeah, and I'm convinced this is one reason why we devotees often have not so good relationships with our parents, because we are the ones who don't follow the Vaishnava etiquette, and we think, oh, they're meat-eating kamis, we have to tell them what to do, what not to do, we have to answer back and tell them that we know better and all this. And parents don't like that, especially if they're from the older generation, because they know this is actually not how we're meant to talk to our parents, argue with them and maybe even shout and scream at them or whatever. This is a pretty common thing these days. Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit it also took me a while to understand. I didn't scream at my parents, of course. But yeah, I didn't always have such a good relationship with my mother, especially some 20 years ago or something. And then I realized how I was contributing to the tension by, trying to tell her what to do and what not to do, because I thought I'm a devotee, I'm a preacher, I'm meant to, help her along and all that. And I had all good intentions. I really wanted her to understand Krishna consciousness. But yeah, that's why we usually say, don't preach to your parents, and it's not only preaching, but yeah, we have to be respectful. We have to treat them as our superiors. We should not defend towards them and have the last word and answer back, because this is all false ego patterns of behaviors. And yeah, and this is inappropriate. So it took me quite a while to actually realize, because nobody ever told me all these things, And then when I stopped doing that, immediately my relationship with my mother became even sweeter and deeper. Yeah. And I consciously used that relationship to let go of my false ego by letting her be right, even if she wasn't right. It doesn't matter. This whole right, wrong thing, who is right, who is wrong. It's all false ego stuff, Big deal. At the moment of death, who cares who was right and who was wrong? Nobody cares. It's completely unimportant. It's some temporary situation there connected with a bodily platform of life, basically. So, yeah. Yeah, so I consciously practiced in that relationship, to let her be right, even if she wasn't, because this is also a challenge for the false ego, when the parent or somebody thinks this is right, but we know actually better, we know it's not right. So the false ego pushes us to say, hey, no, I know better, it's like this, right? So towards a senior, superior person, we should not do that. Yes. And usually all these right-wrong matters, they're actually not that, they're not life-death situations or something. It doesn't really matter, most of the times. Yeah, so good to understand these things, and we can practice in our relationships to let go of our false ego. And then we will see actually the relationships become so much more harmonious and, yes, also between husband and wife, of course, too, yes. It's the opportunity to let go of the false ego, and then the relationships become so much sweeter. We actually win double. We have a more harmonious relationship with our spouse, and we let go of our false egos. So we can't lose. We win double. Yeah. Yes. I'm sure you all know Harisori Prabhu, right? You heard of him at least. Yes. Anybody of you met him personally? Not so many. True. Yeah, Harisori Prabhu. Yeah, he was in Australia when I joined, so I know him quite well personally. And whenever I write my books, I usually, before I put some Prabhupada said stories, I usually verify with him and a few other people. So when I wrote the Falsiga book, I asked Harisori, I asked him, do you have a story where you defended towards Prabhupada? And he sure did. He sent me this nice story, which I put in the book. And the story goes like this. Prabhupada asked him, give me the red folder from the Almirah, from the cupboard. Almirah is the name for these metal cupboards, filing cabinets in India. Give me the red folder from the Almirah. So Harisori Prabhu goes there and says, Prabhupada, there is no red folder. And Prabhupada repeats, give me the red folder. And Harisori Prabhu says, Prabhupada, I can't see a red folder here. And then Prabhupada repeats a third time, give me the red folder. So, and then Harisori says, oh, Prabhupada, you mean the pink folder? And Prabhupada didn't answer. So then Harisori Prabhu takes the folder, which he thinks is pink, and he gives it to Prabhupada and says, Prabhupada, it's pink, it's not red. Wow, what to say, what a thing to say to your guru, to Prabhupada. It's pink, I'm no better, you were wrong, I'm right, it's pink, not red. And Prabhupada blasted him. Oh, he chastised him so heavily. Now you have become very expert in defending yourself towards your spiritual master. And he carried on for 10 minutes, giving him a whole lecture. And Harisori Prabhu very nicely shares how he actually got a little carried away the few weeks before, and his consciousness was not so good, and he was a bit agitated all the time. So, and he said it felt so good being chastised by Prabhupada and put back in his place as humble servant. Yeah, so pretty funny. Yeah, so this is the false ego, the defense mechanism. Of course, this brings us to the topic of tolerance, which we did already discuss in more details when we were talking about forgiveness, the power of forgiveness. Did you hear online by any chance? You listened to the recording. Okay, good. Yeah, so I wouldn't want to repeat all that again, but just let us refresh our memory that tolerance is one of the most important qualities to cultivate in spiritual life, because it directly reflects how much our false ego is already subdued and dissolved. Yeah, that's a sign of advancement in spiritual strength. Whereas in material life, tolerance is seen as what? You tell me. Weakness, yes. What? You tolerate that nonsense? Forget it. Who am I to tolerate this? I walk out, I get divorced. No, I'm not going to tolerate. And so with material eyes, not to tolerate a success, to defend, to stand up for your rights, that's success, you know. So good to keep that in mind, how, you know, what success is in material life will be what in spiritual practice? Are you sleeping? Obstacle, yes, impediment. And what is success in material life? No, in spiritual life. What is it in material life? Failure, weakness, being a big loser, right? Yes. Yeah, so, and who remembers the difference between suppressing and true tolerance? Who remembers? Who can explain? Let me see how much of a teacher I am here, whether you are remembering anything.
Detachment, maybe.
No. You maybe were not there in that lesson.
I was not there, but
You were
was
sick.
thinking. Yeah.
Yes. Now we discussed.
Faith in Krishna is true tolerance.
Yes.
I deserve the worst. And
Not the worst. I deserve worse.
Yeah. And faith in Krishna.
You're looking on your phone. You're cheating.
I had some points after the lecture.
You caught. You defending yourself. We do it all the time. I tell you, 20 times a day at least. You know, if we interact with devotees, all the time, and we don't even identify it. You know. Yes. So the difference between suppressing and tolerating is that suppressing, we just push down, but internally the ego rebels and protests, and the whole false ego battle continues. Whereas true tolerance, we need two tools. One of them is faith in Krishna, so we can see Krishna's hand in the picture. We can see Krishna's trying to teach me something here. There must be some reason why I find myself in this situation. And what was the second quality? Humility. So that we can see what? Why do we need humility? To see things in which way?
Compassion.
Come on. How should we see things? You said it already.
Krishna gives me only a drop.
Yes, that we have this humble mood. Actually, I'm a rascal. I deserve so much worse. But Krishna is so kind. He only gives me one drop of what I really deserve. And if we see things in these terms, and what is Krishna trying to tell me? That will quieten down the false ego. Maybe not immediately overnight, but as we practice and cultivate, you know, then we get out of this mentality of blaming and rebelling, protesting and all this. But we are more introspective, you know, and we do some internal work. What is Krishna trying to teach me here? You know, and actually I deserve it. I must have done something bad to that person in my previous life, and now I'm getting it back. And actually I should get so much worse back, you know. Yeah, that's the difference. So now what we didn't discuss in the forgiveness session, that sometimes people say, but out there in the material world, if we just tolerate everything, then people walk all over us and we don't get anywhere. right? That's usually the reaction, right? So in this regard, I do want to share a little personal story, which I think illustrates very nicely that even in dealings in the material world, we have to very carefully consider whether it's worthwhile defending. So this is, how many years? 17 years ago, 2008. I found myself in the situation where the German taxation department charged me 1,500 euros tax, which I was not supposed to pay. They just cheated me. Yeah, whole story. No need to get into the details. But anyway, and the notification came, but because I was traveling all the time, I missed the first 3 months where I could protest. Yeah, some friend of mine accepted the letter. Usually these letters come with registered mail and all that, and they accepted it and they said, oh, there's a letter for you. But I didn't realize it was such an important letter. The person didn't open it. So by the time I got the letter, the 3 months were gone. And I was furious, Being cheated is one of the challenges for the false ego, So yeah, my false ego was definitely challenged. And I was furious. How can they dare to charge me? They're just ripping me off. And I was on the ceiling there. So I immediately rang the taxation department. And the lady on the phone said, yeah, well, you missed your 3 months. And if you like, you can take it to court and blah, blah, blah. And we started arguing. And I was so disturbed, I couldn't even focus on my chanting anymore. And this whole thing was going around in my head, in circles. As we said, that's a sure sign that the false ego has us in its grips when things go in circles around and around, and we just can't stop thinking about them, and we can't just park it and drop it. And So, and then by Krishna's mercy, I remembered one verse in purport, which I had copied in my verse book. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have remembered it. So sometimes it's good to know a little bit of Shastra. So I want to read this to you. So this is 4th canto, 19th chapter, verse 34. There it says, the verse goes as follows. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, meaning Krishna's arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. Well, I certainly could feel that. So now comes Prabhupada's purport. Sometimes the saintly or very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential, meaning Krishna's arrangement. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should avoid counteracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection. One should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. So that I remembered. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to pay. Let them have it. I haven't paid much tax this lifetime. Maybe I still owe them something. Let them have it. So I just paid it, and that was it. Of course, it took me a couple of days. The false ego was still rebelling. Ah, Krishna's Lakshmi, you could have used it in Bangladesh and you know. But yeah, after 2 days, it was, I moved on, yes. And also, again, I asked myself, will it matter at the moment of death whether I've paid $1.5 grand or not to the taxation department? It will not matter. It's all a part of the nonsensical stage performance, as we discussed yesterday. Curtain closes, show is over. It doesn't matter anymore. It's completely insignificant. Even now, it doesn't matter anymore. Even a week afterwards, it didn't matter anymore. Yeah, so, Shastra sometimes is quite useful to know. Of course, we can say, well, but externally we look like the loser, Actually, the False Ego book, one Prabhupada disciple in New Vrindavan in America, he edited it. Gopish Prabhu. Very nice devotee. And he was writing back to me, I think I wouldn't have paid it. I have to digest that one. Yeah, but well, what choice did I have? Taking the whole matter to court? My God, forget it. Sleepless nights, what for? No. So, yeah, from a material point of view, we look like the loser. But from a spiritual point of view, we are the winner, because we use that opportunity to let go of the false ego's demands. So we may be very successful fighting ourselves through life with defending constantly and fighting for our rights but then at the moment of death, our false ego is not dissolved and we have to take another birth. Whereas tolerating, we may look like not materially successful here, but at the moment of death, we sneak off back together through the back door. Yes. So, I don't want to go absolute, saying things in absolute terms that we should never defend. But we have to very carefully weigh up whether it's worth it or not. And again, good to have a mentor, because we ourselves may not be able to see, because the false ego is clouding our vision and is harassing us. We may not be able to see, but a mentor who is a little aloof, he or she will be able to see whether it's worthwhile defending or not. Yeah, so it's a tricky matter. Of course, we can say, well, Prabhupada, he was leading court cases, right? But Prabhupada didn't fight court cases for his own ego satisfaction. He was fighting on behalf of Krishna. That's a whole different thing. Yes. There's also this nice story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita with Shakshi Gopal, right? Where the old Brahmana is promising his daughter in marriage to the young Brahmana in front of the deity. And then later on, the relatives of the old Brahmana, they say, forget it, how can you give this poor Brahmana our daughter? So, and then Shakshi Gopal, the young Brahmana, he seemingly defends, but his motivation was not that I want to get the daughter you promised me, but now his concern was that the old Brahmana gave the promise in front of the deity. And if he would not keep his promise, that would be a big offense and he would get a big reaction. That was his concern, right? Yeah, so it's good to understand the story properly, you know. So, and because he went in front of Sakshi Gopal and told him the whole story and said to the deity, come walk with me to the village. You are the witness, you know, and if you come actually to the village, then people will believe it. So, and then the deity says, well, how can I walk? And then the Brahmana says, well, if you can talk, then you can walk. So, and then the deity, yes, he walked behind him as long as he wouldn't turn around. And then, near the village there, the tinkling of the ankle boats stopped, and the Brahmana was wondering, is he still there? And he turned around, and then Sakshi Gopal stopped walking, but he was close enough to the village. In any case, obviously, Krishna would have not agreed to walk behind him if he had been on some false ego trip. Yeah. But because his motive was pure and he wanted to actually protect the old Brahmana from not following his promise, that's why Krishna agreed. Yeah. So there, yeah, on behalf of Krishna or his pure devotee or Prabhupada, Guru, there we are meant to fight. We are meant to defend, but without false ego. That's a challenge. But if our motive is pure, and that's why Prabhupada was successful, because he was really with pure heart and no false ego. He was simply fighting on behalf of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. All right, so let me see if we have any questions. Yes.
I have a comment.
Okay.
It seems to me that if I say anything else but how can I serve you, it all comes from false ego. And I think
Yeah, well, ultimately, or let's put it that way, we don't always have to say it, but we should think that way. Our attitude should be, how can I serve? How can I serve the devotees? Where is somebody who I can serve, who I can somehow give something, uplift them, inspire them, encourage them, or do some practical service, So that is definitely one of the main secrets of success in bhakti, that we should be obsessed with that thought, where are devotees who I can serve? Yeah. That should be our obsession. I want to serve. That's the mood in Goloka Vrindavan, my God. There everybody sacrifices themselves in service to make the most pleasing arrangement for the Lord. That's Goloka Vrindavan mood. So if we ever want to go there, we have to cultivate this mood of sacrificing ourselves selflessly in service, wanting to please Krishna and the devotees. Yeah. So that's what we are meant to practice here. Prabhupada was always saying, our temples, they're actually the spiritual world. They're Vaikuntha. Yes. And the more we all really create this atmosphere of serving, the more this Vaikuntha atmosphere develops. Yeah, so that should be our consciousness, our attitude. Doesn't mean we have to say it all the time, it may get on people's nerves. You know, we always come, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? People may think we're a little over the top or something. But no, it should be the internal mood, you know. Yeah. Yeah, even as a preacher, that's my mood always, thinking, how can I serve? You know, answering emails and this and that, and trying to encourage, and yeah. And Guru is the topmost servant, you know, sacrificing really his very life to drag his disciples back to God. Yeah, Prabhupada. Just today I had a little bit of time and I was watching the whole movie of what we watched the first half an hour on Prabhupada's appearance, you know, the mantra, the Swami, and how it all started, or whatever it is called. It's just so heartwarming, you know, really. It's and so many funny episodes out there too, really. I mean, who of you watched the whole movie ever? Yes. I mean, this is a movie we can watch again and again. I had forgotten so many details, you know. It's a little off the topic, but it was so funny. You know, this where they describe how Hare Krishna became a household word in every person's mouth. And they were giving these little film clips there. They must have been in some ads or something. I mean, I was cracking up laughing when I saw it today. Where this one woman says, oh, I felt really down today. I really needed something. And then I met these Hare Krishnas. And oh, they really gave me the boost I needed. And if I hadn't had to go home to cook dinner, I felt like jumping into their van. And she was all giggling around. It's so funny. I think it was not a real story, but it was something they were showing on TV or something. You know.
80s show.
Huh?
It's called that 80s show.
It's a show.
Series.
Yes. And then the other one was funny too. What was that again? Oh, I lost it again.
It's Muppets or?
Oh no. It was so funny. The restaurant, you know, where somebody orders in the restaurant and people stand there behind the counter, and the guys in the restaurant, they have like some kind of a chadar or some big sannyas begging cloth around or something, you know, in saffron. They're kind of half dressed like a devotee, but not properly. Yeah. And then they put their order and what they want to have as a menu. And then he asks, with or without chanting? And then the guy ordering the beer says, with chanting, please. And he walks out, you know, goes to the table to take his meal. Oh, it was so hilarious. It was so fun. Yes, but how did I get there now? Anyway, yeah, I mean, Prabhupada. Yeah, what I wanted to say, service mood, you know, how Prabhupada cooked all the first meals and everything. He personally stood in the kitchen, cooked all the gulab jamans and whatnot, cooked a whole big feast and served it out. And my God, you know, that's how he conquered everybody's hearts, you know. Yes. All right. Anything else? That's it. All right. Well, let's finish with a little personal exercise. Turn to your neighbor and share. What did this false ego seminar give you? These 2 sessions. No need to repeat the whole seminar to each other, but, you know, just the essence. What are you walking out here with? What are you taking home? Hopefully something. So by sharing, it deepens the learning experience. Yeah, try to everybody have a partner here. You two get together.
Would have one question.
One question. Is there any question online? Yesterday there was, and we missed it. Is there anybody online watching? Or they left?
At the moment, there's 2 persons online. I didn't check how it was when you were lecturing.
Yeah, people probably left.
There's only one comment.
People always make these very meaningful comments, just wanting to be heard. And I'm there. Krishna. Okay, Guru Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. We have one more question. What's the question, Prabhu?
Could it be considered one kind of form of defending if somebody tells you to do something and you say yes, I will do it, but then you do totally on your own way? It's like passive aggressive.
Passive?
Passive aggressive.
Passive aggressive. Yeah, well, we come across this in India a fair bit, you know. I'm starting to think, you know, that people say yes, yes, but then they don't do it, you know. Not sure. I mean, I guess it's kind of some kind of strange way to try and follow the etiquette by just saying yes, yes, yes to everything, especially when it comes from a superior, rather than being straightforward and honest and say, oh, I'm sorry, Prabhu, I'm a little busy, I'm not sure if I can fit this in or something. You know, it would be considered unpolite or something, and then yes, yes, but then they don't do it. You know? So I don't think this is a form of defense, really. Well, you could maybe say in a really indirect way, you want to look good, that you're doing it all, you know, you want to save your image and reputation of being such a surrendered servant, but then you don't even take it seriously or something. I mean, there is so many more facets of the false ego, you know, as I mentioned, the whole seminar is 10 hours. Like there's one section also in the false ego book, the Vaishnava etiquette, that we don't want to feed and boost our false egos, you know, that we don't want to push ourselves in the limelight, and especially in kirtan, that the etiquette, we should wait until we are invited to sing or speak. We should not just run to the mic and say, oh, well, nobody's singing, must be my turn or something. You know, we always like to invite ourselves, but actually we should invite others. Even juniors can invite seniors. Oh, Prabhu, would you like to sing? You know, yes. We should invite others and not ourselves. You know, yes. It's a very common thing. Even like with Tulsi Puja, you know, often in bigger temples where you have two tulsis, one for the men, one for the women, you know, and everybody stands in the circle wondering who is doing the arati. And then, oh, well, if I'm really quick and take off the socks, then I'm first there, you know. Rather than inviting somebody, would you like to do tulsi arati? You know, or somebody just walks up and does it. But actually, we should invite others, not ourselves. You know, it's such simple etiquettes in many parts of the world. They are unknown. You know, yes. Yeah, and also in regards to feeding and boosting the false ego, there's a whole chapter how to appreciate devotees, how to glorify devotees without boosting their false ego. Yeah, it's an art. I often feel we just give people the false ego boost by glorifying them publicly, just so the person continues doing the service or something, you know. But yeah, Vaishnav mood is actually that a devotee feels very uncomfortable hearing his name chanted and glorified and all this. You know, you want to block your ears and run away. So it's an art to appreciate devotees without feeding and massaging their false egos. Yes. So there's so many things. Or false ego can even contaminate our guru-disciple relationship. My guru is the best. And because he's my guru, that's why I'm the next best. Yeah. Ooh, happening. You know? Yeah. And when we don't identify these things, we may be wondering, well, what's wrong here? It's natural that we think our guru is very special. But yeah, it is meant to be a very private and personal thing. We're not meant to canvas and, oh, my guru, my guru. This false ego, entering the guru disciple relationship, using guru to bring attention to myself. That's what's behind it, you know. Or same even with our deities at home. My deities are so special, and because they're my deities, that's why I am so special. You want to have some prashadam from my deities, my deities. Yeah, and again, we get easily confused and wonder, yeah, well, he's very devoted to his deities, but you know, we don't want to make some public thing there and using the deities to bring attention to myself. That's what's behind it, you know, that's what the false ego is doing. So yeah, false ego is so powerfully poisonous, can poison anything. The best idea can be poisoned and ruined if it is presented with false ego. Anyway, yeah, there's so many more topics, but at least we managed to bring some little attention to the topic. And if anybody feels inspired, we have the book. And there's the whole thing. Much more than even what I can offer in 10-hour seminars, because even 10-hour seminars, I'm always running out of time because I want to give time for discussion and so on. And then often we end up somewhere else. And so on. Okay, so thank you so much for attending. Tomorrow we have the Sunday program. The topic is the power of consciousness. It's actually also in the book. It's the first chapter in the false ego book. What is consciousness? And how consciousness travels on sound vibration. And yeah, it's a pretty cool topic also for outreach. I like to use that topic when people take me to the universities, to new students and so on. You know, power of consciousness is some cool new agey topic. You know. So we'll have that for tomorrow. And Monday, the last session on chanting the Holy Name. Okay, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Swami Devaki ki. Go.
Hari Hari Bol.